Welcome back to Building Tomorrow's Cybersecurity Workforce, sponsored by ISACA on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. I'm your host, Jason Fornicola, and my guest today is Tyler Cohen Wood, Inspired eLearning Cybersecurity Advisor. Tyler, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tyler, you've helped a number of different organizations and agencies, from the White House to DoD to NASA to the intelligence community. Now, from all of this experience that you have, in your opinion, what's the most important thing that an organization should start doing or stop doing in order to be prepared?
That's a really good question. One of the most important things that we need to do now is start educating our employees from all the way to the top, all the way down to the bottom, including third-party contractors, on what the biggest threat vectors are. We also need to start collaborating and sharing information with other organizations that have some of the similar threats that we come across. We also have to know what is connected to our network and what those threat vectors are, especially with new Internet of Things, people bringing their own devices into corporations. We have to have a good understanding of what those threats are.
Now, you mentioned something there that's interesting, and it's kind of a cultural shift for maybe a time not too long ago from now, where it used to be a CIO problem or a CISO problem. You're arguing now that it's at the top. This is at the top of the board of directors, the CEO,
Oh, yes.
all the way down.
Oh, yes. This is no longer a CISO IT problem. This is from the top down. It is everybody's problem, because with all of the various ways that we are connected, those are potential threats into your personal life, your employee's personal life, but also into your corporate network. So education is one of the most important things that we can do.
Now, this week at the CSX 2015 Cybersecurity Conference, you talked about the importance of playing great offense. What did you mean by that?
Yes. So, playing great offense. Now, again, we have these devices connected into our network. We have smart TVs, we have HVAC systems, we have all kinds of new technologies, and these technologies typically tend to be first to market, so security sometimes takes a back seat. So we have to think like a hacker, and we have to look for what those potential threat vectors are and really think outside of the box on potential ways that the bad guys can get in.
Now, let's talk about that from a real-world perspective. Give me an example, say, if somebody rents a car and connects their cell phone through the Bluetooth.
That's a very smart question, Jason. So one of the first things that someone who is on travel, whether it's a government person, a business person, one of the first things they're going to do when they rent a car is they're going to try to abide by the law, and they're going to hook the Bluetooth, their cell phone, up to the car. Well, what's happening is the car is actually sucking in data. It's taking in text messages, sometimes email, photographs, history. And when you leave, people very rarely de-pair that connection. And there are tools available now where someone can come in if they're targeting you, and they can suck that information off of the car.
And this is where you argue the education piece comes in, right? It's
Absolutely.
not a hard fix, but if you don't know, you won't take the appropriate steps.
Absolutely. Well, and they say that typically hackers get into networks. I think the latest statistic I saw was 85% are through phishing schemes or through people, too much on social media, so they target those people. And I think what we need to do, the answer is to turn what could have been considered the weakest link into your human firewall.
One of the big challenges that we're faced with in this field is really a lack of interest and involvement by women in the cybersecurity field. Tell me about that challenge and the implications of that.
Well, I think there's a lot of implications. I think it's something that we need to work on, and we need to have more women in technology. And things were a little different for me. My name being Tyler Kevin Cohen. When I started looking, I would do job interviews, and I would do them via email, never talking to people until I showed up, and they were flabbergasted that I was a woman, and I guess they hired me. But a recent thing happened where I was very disturbed. I go to Texas for my new job because that's where they're based out of on a frequent basis, and my little 9-year-old niece lives in Texas, and I help her with her homework while her mom and dad make dinner. And she was just saying, I can't do my math homework, it's so hard, math's for boys. And it just brought me back to the things that people said to me when I was that age. And I looked at her and I said, no. I said, Thea, look at you, you're really good at math, you're really good at science. I said, you love science. I said, look, you want to be like your Auntie Tyler, I love math and science. Of course, I didn't tell her I absolutely despise math, but she doesn't have to know that. But so the next time I saw her, I said, well, let's do your homework. Let's start with math. And her response was, oh, I already did my math. Math's my favorite subject. So it's those little things. It's mentoring. It's helping other women see that this is cool and it's something that they can do. And that's what we have to do.
Tyler, as we close out, one of the things that you argue is that we have to start thinking like a hacker. Be more agile. Be more innovative. Tell me about that.
Well, with all of these connected devices and all of these new threat vectors into our personal lives and into our corporate network, we really have to start thinking outside of the box. Think about how a bad guy could utilize this technology to get into your network, how they could find these zero-day exploits or what's missing, and really know these devices and have the highest level of security on there. Because for a hacker to get into your network, it just takes one hole for them to find. But to secure that network, you have to know all of them.
That's all the time that we have for today. I'd like to thank my guest, Tyler Cohen Wood, Cybersecurity Advisor for Inspired eLearning. I'm Jason Fornicola, and you're listening to federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM.